Well, hello. Happy Friday, everybody. It's Dr. Delicia. Just wanted to come on quick and connect with everyone. So I'm Dr. Delicia Haynes, a board certified physician and a medical student mental health advocate. So I shine a light for medical students in their darkest hour, helping them overcome stress and depression. And that's one of the reasons that I come on and do this show. I've really been enjoying the feedback and the questions that I get when I'm trying to decide what to talk about. It's really helpful. Hey, that's really helpful that you're sending things that you want to hear about. So I just encourage you to continue to, if there's a topic that you want to discuss or learn more about, please let me know. So the one for this week, someone had asked me, they'd asked about, I hadn't had the question was around I have not had another episode of major depression in several years, and they were asking what do I do, or what do I think is the biggest reason that has been the case. And really it's about my ability to kind of manage stress. So there was a time in my life where I wasn't as good at coping and managing and discharging stress, and I'm a lot better now. So I think that's one of the main things that have helped me not have that particular trigger for depressive episodes. So again, I want to thank you for the questions and everything, and want to just talk a little bit about stress tonight, and particularly about avoiding unnecessary stress, because there are certain things that we can do to make our lives a little bit less stressful. So again, tonight we're going to be talking about avoiding unnecessary stress. And first, we have to recognize that there's actually different types of stress. So we talk about stress as if it's a bad thing, but there's actually, there is eustress and there's distress. So, hey, Dr. Charlotte and Jennifer. Hey, nice to see you guys. So the eustress is that motivational, the good stress. It's the stress, that tension that actually motivates us to do something. It actually helps to focus our ability and our energy. It improves our performance. So an example of this, my nephew, we were really trying to encourage him to clean his room. Nothing was really working. And then he found out that this girl was going to come over to the house. And suddenly he leaps out of bed and he's cleaning his room and he gets in the shower. I mean, it was amazing. All things that were within his ability before, but he didn't have any kind of stress motivation to help him do it. So that was just some eustress, some good stress that really helped to move him in the direction of something that he wanted to do anyway, but just wasn't exceptionally motivated about it. So the biggest difference between kind of eustress and distress, which is the distress is the negative stress, is your perceived ability to kind of cope. So if it's something that's within your coping ability, then it might be, and it's exciting, then that could be on the eustress, that positive side of things, versus if you feel like it's outside of your coping abilities, that's more in the kind of the distress scenario. So just wanted to talk about stress in general first, and then specifically about things that you can do to avoid unnecessary stress. So stress occurs when the pressure that you're under is exceeding your coping abilities. So in order to deal with it, you either can basically decrease your pressure, find ways to decrease the pressure, or find ways to increase your ability to cope with it. So when I talk tonight, again, 3 things you can do to avoid unnecessary stress. I think one of the first things you can do is actually avoiding the stressor, or avoiding exposure to the stressor. So I'm in Daytona Beach. This is Daytona 500 weekend. So there is an extra million people in our city, which I love people. However, I don't need to be on International Speedway Boulevard right now. So there's some things that I know. Hey, Mary, good to see you. There are certain things that you can decrease your stress by decreasing your exposure, and that can go a long way. So I'm grateful for the Daytona 500 event. It brings a lot of economic opportunity to our city. And I'm going to let them have fun over there, and I'm going to be in the other parts of the city. And so that's one of the things that you can do, is just avoid exposure, kind of plan ahead, and really pick your battles. So when I was in medical school, I was in a lot of situations where you would see things happen that you just knew that, it's just not right. And I was talking to one of my upper level med students, and Chike, and he said, Delicia, there are certain battles that are worthy of fighting even though you know you're going to lose, but you have to decide if you're going to fight them today. And it was such great advice, because there were certain things that you know that you need to do and that you're equipped to do, and the question is sometimes the timing. So in medical specifically, there were things that happened, there were things that I knew I needed to raise my voice and say something about, but I knew that there was also a time that I needed to do it, and some things that I needed to handle first. So, avoiding your exposure, planning ahead, kind of having a strategy can go a long way toward decreasing the stress and just decreasing unnecessary stress in your life. So that's the first thing, again, is avoid exposure. The second is to love toxic people from a distance. And I've said that before, but it's so important, like who you have around you, who has a front seat to access to you and to affect your kind of energy level. Again, when I was in medical school, I was talking to some medical students recently, so I was recounting all these stories of when I was in med school. And there was a resident who, to put it mildly, was a black hole of negativity. And she hated her life, and everyone else was going to hate life around her. And she would go out of her way to just make people's life miserable. And so I practiced the first tip about kind of avoiding exposure. I would go out of my way to minimize my interactions with her when I was in medical school. And I had to interact with her at some level, but I also, chose to distance myself from her. And actually over time, we got to a point where we respected each other, because I didn't bother her. I came in, I was about business, and, we got things done, and I ended up getting to know her on a better level later, and understood some of the reasons for why she was behaving the way that she did. But at the time, it was just like, I just need to be kind of away. So there are certain people maybe in your life that you can feel your energy level just drop when you're in their presence. They may be someone who likes a lot of drama. And, the thing about drama is that it's kind of like a hurricane around people. It starts to hit everything that's around the person. So you have to decide whether or not you're going to be kind of in the path of that storm. So there are certain people that, although you love them and you care about them and you respect them, it's really important that's right, no more drama. It's really important to love those people from a distance. So the second way that you can avoid unnecessary stress is to love toxic people from a distance. And then the third way, which is the last one I was going to talk about tonight, is the third way of avoiding unnecessary stress is to always respect yourself and always act in line with your values and your virtues. There's always this tension between who we are and who we are meant to be. And we always, throughout, every single day, we make decisions about, how we're going to behave in a certain situation. So there are things that come your way that may be looking like an opportunity that could actually be an obstacle if it's not in line with your values. Case in point, I was invited to speak a while about at a conference, and it was about the topic of depression, which is what I was invited to speak on was the topic of depression, which is something I speak a lot on. And I was about to say yes to doing the talk, and then I asked a little bit more about what the conference was about, and found out that the conference was something that I disagreed with completely. It was totally outside of kind of my values. So I said no to speaking, even though what they wanted me to come in and talk about was something that was in line with, my values. I knew that I couldn't be associated with that. So you really have to, always be thinking about respecting yourself. And this is really important when you are, it's important regardless, but especially, for people like myself who are entrepreneurs, you are the brand. So who you align yourself with really does matter. And is more important than any logo or, any slogan. And so really paying attention to who you are around, and making sure that you're always respecting yourself, and that your actions are all in line with your values. So I hope that was beneficial for you. Again, those are the 3 ways that you can avoid unnecessary stress. So one is to avoid exposure, pick your battles carefully. The second one was to love toxic people from a distance. And the third one is to respect yourself and to make sure that you're always acting in line with your values. So if you're doing those things, it really helps to decrease and avoid unnecessary stress. So I hope that you have an amazing weekend, regardless of whether you are in the country, and be thinking about the things that you can do to avoid unnecessary stress and bring more calm into your life. I did want to take a moment to invite those of you who are local. February 28th, there's going to be a talk, and it's going to be myself, Dr. Pamela Weibel, who's the author of Physician Suicide Letters Answered, and Clay Whitman, who is the father of Matt Whitman, who is a Florida State FSU med student who died by suicide a few years ago. And we're going to be, Dr. Pamela is going to be doing a talk followed by a panel discussion, and it's going to be at 6:30, February 28th at the Museum of Arts and Sciences, sponsored by Florida State University and the Delicia County Medical Society. So it's free, it's open to the public. So definitely, if you can get out to it, then come on out. So wanted to say that. And again, this weekend, have a great weekend and try to do things that are going to help decrease your exposure to stress. All right, take care. Bye.